put the floor down, I'm going to give it a good coat of rust preventative paint. There. That's a little bit better. 5 sheets of 3/4 inch spruce plywood. Going to use it as the floor on the ProMaster van. But before we install it, I'm going to paint it with a primer that is mold and mildew resistant. So pick this up at Home Depot, and we're going to paint the underside of the plywood. And over here is a bed rug that was bought, and it's the shape of the entire back of the ProMaster, and it will provide some soundproofing and thermal insulation. The bottom of the bed rug is been contoured to fit the grooves that are in the back of the ProMaster. After cutting the pieces of plywood to fit into the van, I'm going to rabbet joint them together, and there's a groove cut on one side of one piece of plywood, on the other side of the other piece of plywood, and they overlap so that you get a better and solid connection. So if you step on one side of the floor, you don't get this shearing action. It's supported across the sheets of plywood, and you use a router to do that. And here is the router, and that's a rabbet bit in the router that'll cut the groove into the plywood. So away we go. Now that I've put all the plywood into the van and everyone is overlapped with a rabbet joint, it's time to bolt the floor in, and I'm going to use 5/16 bolts, 1.25 inches long, with what's called a T-nut. And basically it's got grooves that are going to grab hold of the plywood, and this is going to be set flush with the plywood, hole drilled through the van, and the bolt brought up through, and it threads into the T-nut and pulls it down into the little slot that's drilled into the plywood. And you make that go flat by using a bit that looks like this.